You good? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the November 22nd. meeting.
Second.
Motion made and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried unanimously for approval of the minutes of the last meeting. First item on the agenda is an application by William T. Adams. This is for a 2-lot subdivision. We have set today to set a public hearing. This is the property located at 7063 Firstler Road, Kirkville. Mr. Adams, how are you today, sir? It's my understanding that you have gone before the Town Zoning Board of Appeals and that you have obtained 3 variances for this 2-lot subdivision?
Correct.
Okay. Did anybody have any further questions of Mr. Adams today?
Are you going to retain ownership of these?
Yes.
You are. And the gray house, is that the middle of the two? The gray house, is that
There's a White House.
White House maybe? Yeah,
Two properties currently all around there.
yeah. It's sort of a new house, it's a new house.
The one I'm putting up, yes.
Yeah.
The one that goes around.
We're going to make
Just
a
so-
new rule that when you're speaking, you can remove your mask so that it
So
doesn't
we can
sound,
hear.
so that it doesn't sound muffled and we can all hear.
Very good.
Just-
Go ahead, Rich.
I was just gonna say, the three variances that you got. One is a frontage on one lot, one is a frontage on the other, and one is an area on the lot number 1, correct? Those are the, okay,
Frontage and area on lot 1, just frontage.
just wanted to put that in the record. Thank you.
At this point, it appears that he has done everything that he was asked to do relative to obtaining the variances. I would move that did somebody want to move that we schedule a public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion made by Ann, second by Richard, all in favor? This will be a question. Are we doing it on the 27th?
Okay, sure.
Well, we're earning our wages this year.
December 27th.
Are you, Mr. Adams, would you be okay on December 27th for a public hearing?
Sure.
Then this is adjourned to December the 27th for public hearing to see if public has any input on these 2 lots that are so far out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
I don't think we all voted.
Oh, we didn't vote. We got a motion made in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll see you on the 27th, Mr. Adams.
Thank you.
Our next application is Harrington Homes. And this is to set a date for a public hearing. This is a 34-lot subdivision and site plan for the homes at Brandywine. This is Brandywine off of Henneberry. This is all on one tax map number 109-2-7.1. Is there someone here on behalf of the applicant?
Ben Navarro and Navarro Consulting. With me, Mark Harrington and Mike Panatano of Harrington Homes. We've responded to the town engineer and his sub-consultant with regards to water wells. That's part of the record. I have the plans I can call up, but if still needed, but if not, we can, if it's going to be relatively straightforward, I don't have to go through that. But everything is in the package that you guys have received. The outstanding laundry list of items that we provided in this update include a complete stormwater analysis for the subdivision, updated plans, updated grading plans and such. So we feel we've addressed the water well issue, and we're looking forward to moving forward and getting this arduous process through as we've been anxiously as we sit into our second winter trying to make something happen this spring.
I tell you, I'm speaking only on my own behalf. But my concern is regarding the water supply. And you did provide us with some documentation that you are able to produce 5 gallons per minute for the limited number. I've read other reports and other recommendations, and it would appear to me that we really should be determining whether you are able to provide 5 gallons per minute for the entire 34 lot subdivision. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, and queued up is our hydrogeologist. I mean, he's available if we wanted to bring him on, Lisa, David Stoner, to further talk about the water well analysis that we did. And just to be clear, 3 wells were drilled on the property. Each well during the normal yield test produced 20 gallons per minute in those 3. It was determined to do the drawdown test that was coordinated and worked through town engineer, that the test be run for 24 straight hours at a 12 gallon per minute rate. And just to be clear, if you take the 34 proposed lots and you say, what's going to be the yield at approximately 500 gallons a day for each of those lots, the yield that we produced in 23 hours is greater than what is a normal day that will be produced out of those entire 34 lots. So again, we did the due diligence that was asked for. We did a 24-hour yield test. The yield test, and there has been some correspondence between the town engineers consultant and our hydrogeologist. The end result is in both of the town consultant's first sentences in his response is, I don't think there's an overall issue with this, but there's some level of care or doomsday scenarios that might cause some other issues. Our deal is the first phase, and Mark and Michael can talk about that, is going to be probably like 8 lots. In each of those 8 lots, there's going to be a well drilled, and that well will have to be approved by the Department of Health. And the well yield typically for a DOH approval is 5 gallons per minute. So we're already less than half of the 12 that we've already tested for, and a quarter of the yield that we provided during the 3 wells that were drilled. So the 5 gallons per minute is kind of like a magic number that DOH says, if you're going to provide a single water source without any storage, you should have a yield of 5 gallons per minute. So what we're saying is, and I think it was put in Mr. Stoner's letter, our hydrogeologist, is if as this development progresses and if a well yield by a certified well driller comes up to be less than 5 gallons per minute, then there's other means and methods of which a builder can go about to make sure that that house satisfies Department of Health requirements, as such storage. And you provide plenty enough storage to essentially get a yield of that 500 gallons per day, so you don't have an issue with the water system itself. Mr. Harrington's been in this business for probably longer than you'd like to think about. And he'll tell you that he's, in all of the development he's done in Onondaga County, he has never had a problem with well yield. Because we are, no matter where we are in the county, we can provide a means and methods to provide water supply. And I think the due diligence, rightfully so, that the town has asked us to do, we've shown that we've got yield at this location on the north end of Hannonberry Road, just before 173. I mean, again, a yield for any one well of 20 gallons per minute is pretty impressive all by itself. And we've got 3 wells at that.
That doesn't count the 200 and some gallon reserve in the pipe.
Correct.
Coming up.
So I guess on our end, being that we're certifying to things, we feel very confident that 34 lots will have sustainable yield based on all the data that we've collected. And if not, there are other means and methods of which water supply can be provided to each of these lots.
Would you use aqua?
We again, when we started this a year ago, we talked to Aqua, and Aqua cannot provide the volume and pressure needed at this particular location without a significant improvement to their water system. It doesn't reach the elevations as we head south on Hennenberry. The elevations continue to climb, and we can't provide that service. The north end, the Brandywine development is on Aqua.
Yes.
The development on the east side is on public water. So we're not impacting anybody else's wells, short of when you go further south on Hennenberry, climbing the hill, of which they're climbing the hill, including myself who lives up there, including Mr. Harrington who lives further up on the hill, up in the Pompey side. So this particular development is on the lower end of any watershed. And as such, we're getting significant yields out of these wells, where frankly, when you get to the high point of that watershed and you get up on top of the hill, there is suspect yields of less than 5 gallons per minute, but that's okay because there's still houses going up there. Winsbury Heights, there's 20 lots in there that are all on wells. And I don't think anyone in Winsbury has a problem with water supply to your knowledge. And that's greater than 34 lots in Winsbury.
I'm just concerned because at the last hearing we had our own hydrogeologist, Jerry Gould, who didn't say that you were wrong, your geologist was wrong, but he had concerns as to whether or not that volume would be kept up amongst all 34 units. I'm going to ask our town engineer if he feels comfortable with what he's hearing. Or is Jerry Gould more on key that we should really know whether or not all 34 can carry it?
I think what Matt's saying is that the health department's gonna require 5 gallons per minute per house. And I have had discussions with Jeff Mill to that effect. You know, we could talk about it, but you know, it may be prudent, like Matt is proposing, to try a phased approach and see where the wells go. I did have some discussion with Jeff Till, and he also did say, just like Matt did, probably the same document that we're both looking at from the DOH that says if you're at less than 5 gallons per minute, then you can put in storage tanks to reach that same documented flow for a house. So I mean, everything that that's saying seems to be reasonable for the same discussions that I've had with the health department and with Jerry.
Mr. Naparella, are you indicating that this is going to be a phased approach? You almost started to say at one point about 8 units first.
Correct. Be adding 8 to 6 lots as we go around the circle.
And then would we have continued testing to determine whether or not we're still in good shape?
We can't sell the house until the well is in and the well is documented and the well is proved to the Department of Health. So there is no chance of exchanging turning the house over if the well doesn't meet the requirements.
Okay.
So the continued testing really would be, you're gonna have 8 wells before you go on to the next phase. And then if we run into a problem, say the last 2 wells as we approach, as we head to the west and we're getting less than 5 gallons per minute, we're gonna know right away there's an issue, and then we can come back to the board and say, you know what, maybe we gotta look at a different thing. But the approach here is a residential subdivision. And as we talked about a couple years ago, or a year ago, I apologize, the initial approval or a preliminary approval of this subject site was for a significant amount more, 40-some lots. And Mr. Harrington and Harrington Homes and Michael are looking at a more sensible development with bigger lots so that their high-end properties will be marketable in their mind, but as well make it a comfortable scenario. So at one point in time, there was a more dense development being proposed 10 years ago, longer,
Maybe 15.
15 years ago on the same piece of property.
It's irrelevant.
Nice.
The other question is sewers. I know that you're working to put together a sewer plan. Has anything been approved by the
So
sewer
we've
company?
made contact with WEP,
Yeah.
Water Environment Protection, and sewer is a different animal. There is plenty of capacity with our tributary connection. The issue with sewers becomes we are connected to the Limestone Creek,
Right.
the sanitary sewer system, which any new connection we have to contribute to the offset charge. So there's gonna be a certain amount of gallons per day that will be generated from the development, and the developer will have to pay into the program just like any new house development will occur. But that has nothing to do with the individual capacities from our point of connection downstream. It has to do with infiltration and inflow issues through the sewers, through different low areas to get to the treatment plant, and which the treatment plants have significant, what we call wet weather flows or I&I flows.
Mhm.
And so the county is looking for offset charges to help a program to improve upon outdated or deteriorating infrastructure.
And
So
has,
any development will occur that, but in conversations with WEP is just be contributory to the program, and they don't have an issue with our immediate point.
okay, so no agreement's been done, but
Not yet,
there's a
we're not
plan.
there yet.
There's a
frankly,
plan.
I mean,
Okay,
But
all right.
certainly can get there.
Yeah, okay.
When they were studying things, they looked at Three Falls Woods and they found at certain times of the year it dried up. And they said that was at the same level as this.
Well, again, Mr. Gould was looking at different, a scenario of the topographic conditions versus, I call it almost, in lack of a better term, and I apologize to Doug, like a doomsday scenario. It's like, well, if Three Falls Woods, which is a half to 3/4 miles away, starts to dry up, will the water source here potentially dry up? Because you're potentially up gradient from that same connection, and are you in that same watershed? And there was a lot of if scenarios, I'll call them. And frankly, we felt with the data and with the knowledge that if a single point has a volume like we're getting and tested volume at 12 gallons per minute, understanding no single family home is going to turn on their 4 faucets, turn them on and leave them going for 24 hours. So the volume of water that you're looking at, again, 500 gallons per day, that's a lot of water. And that's even greater than the Department of Health says you need for a 4-bedroom house. It's 440. So we're being engineering blockhead conservative when we're doing analysis based on 500 gallons a day. But when you take gallons per minute, and then you multiply the minutes by 60 and the hours by 24, and you say that's the volume that you have, that's a significant amount of volume from one well. And again, in our expert is telling us that connectivity, very well may be, but we don't see it and we don't think that's the case. There's a significant watershed contributory to this that we don't think, even in the driest of arid conditions, we're still in upstate New York, and we're still gonna have enough water that we're gonna have plenty of water to serve these 34 lots.
That was my next question. If you tested any of this in the summer.
Was tested in the summer.
It was tested in the summer?
Yes, the pumping test was carried out during the summer months.
Mr. Stoner is on the horn. Thank you, Dave.
Sorry, didn't mean to jump in, Matt.
No, perfect.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
much more happy when it's a phased approach. And at this point, I would entertain a motion to schedule a public hearing.
I'll make that motion. Do we have time to do it at the next meeting?
No, we can't do it at the next meeting because we have sent to county for their opinion. County opinion will not be back. So the first available will be January 10. We will have heard from county by then.
I'll make a motion for January 10th.
I'll second
Motion,
it. Whatever.
I think Fred seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? You are scheduled for January 10th for the public hearing. Okay, we'll have the county report back before then, and we'll see where we go.
Thank you very much, and happy holidays, Merry Christmas to all.
You too, Matt.
Thank you. Yeah, next item on the agenda is the application by Kimberly Horn. This is a public hearing that has been set for tonight. This is for an amended site plan, and we call it the Target Drive-Up Extension. This is all taking place at 340 Town Drive, Fayetteville, New York. Tax map number 087-1-20.0. God bless you. I'll bet we've got somebody on the line for Target.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
So yeah, we're back in front of the board, hoping to get approval for the drive-up expansion at the Target store. Based on comments we received last meeting. So we provided an updated set of drawings. That was today that we provided those. So you may not have had a chance to review. And we also provided a memo with the parking and traffic information for the site, kind of describing how the drive-up system works and the efficiency to which it reduces time spent in the parking lot and number of customers served in a given time frame. And those two documents, we believe, provide the necessary information for approval, aside from the agreement with the developer that we are working with Target to get for developing on the property. And we were hoping to get that, pending that agreement as part of the conditions of approval. So we can go ahead and apply for building permits and finalize that agreement between Target and the developer.
Thank you, sir. Did any members of the board have any further questions before we proceed tonight?
It's a total of 20 spaces, right? Include a total of 20 spaces, including what you have?
So it's 20 drive-up spaces, which is a 6 stall reduction from what is existing.
This may be something we talked about before, but I'm gonna ask it again because I can't remember. I'm not that smart. But the actual site plan with the parking spaces in front of Target, do those spaces meet the code for the size of Target?
So I was just doing the calculations, and the overall shopping center is kind of encompassed within that number. So Target specifically within the property lines, I think what does not meet the number, but within that entire development, the numbers are meet the code requirement.
You have some type of reciprocal easement with Core to use their parking and also to allow other people to use the driveway coming in. That I think is part of your parcel.
Yes, exactly.
There's something that's been recorded, it's in place.
Well, I would assume so, given that the driveway is within the Target property line, but the overall shopping center has multiple other stores. So that would be my assumption. I don't have, a record of that on my end, but I would assume that's something that would have been, in place to build the center in the first place.
I'm looking at plan CO.1 that
Yep.
has a dotted line around parking, the entrance, the back of the building. Is that the Target property?
Yeah, that's the tax map Target property line that we pulled from
Okay.
the website. Yeah.
I guess we need to do a little examination to make sure there is an REA. I think so that if Target doesn't meet the parking on their parcel, they can use other parking spots. Other tenants can use the drive lanes coming in. That's just my opinion now. I may be wrong.
Was there a concern of there's a slight reduction in the parking? Is there a concern?
My concern would be of this parcel
Mhm.
that we're looking at, do they have enough parking for the Target store? Just a question.
So we just, I guess we need to do a count. But
We have no record of any complaints in Target for parking.
I'm not sure. I'll have to look.
From a code standpoint,
Yeah,
Do we have enough parking spaces on the target parcel for their store? It's just a question. Not saying I'm opposed, I'm just asking a question.
Yeah, I haven't
On-
run the
on a-
numbers, but I-
on a pure square footage,
Right.
we haven't done that calculation.
They had an agreement that they could use each other's.
And if there's not enough parking, it'd be nice to see that agreement or at least share it with us so that we know that.
Well, I
It's in
think
place.
that's something that we can come up with and calculate, just from their diagram is very accurate. And,
yeah.
We could make a hand count of that and. and run
I
the
agree. I'm
numbers.
just asking the question. I'm just curious.
In fact, they went through and they made the spaces a little bit smaller, so there'd be a correct number.
They're losing some spaces, so I don't know.
Right.
I mean, there's plenty of open parking there any time of the day,
Right.
but we're looking at a specific parcel in a specific center. I'm just asking the question.
We will find out before the next date.
Okay.
And they're
that's-
all for target anyway. Yeah, and
Yeah.
Today it's on for public hearing. Madam Secretary, did we properly publish notice of the hearing?
Yes, we did.
We did. Does anyone care for a full reading of the entire notice?
I'll make a,
Skip the reading.
Motion by Fred to waive
Second
the
that.
reading, second by Richard, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. So reading is hereby waived. I would entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
second.
And second by Richard, all in favor?
Aye.
Public hearing is hereby open relative to target. If anybody desires to say anything, step forward, identify who you are and where you live.
Hearing none, I'll make a motion to close the hearing.
Second.
Motion to close the hearing by Ann, second by Richard, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
There's no virtual either.
Lisa, did we do secret on this one already? We probably should do that.
What, I'm sorry.
Secret,
Oh, yeah, we need, oh, yes, absolutely.
okay,
We're gonna do that this evening?
I think we should.
We can do it this
Public
evening.
hearing, but it's the same night as public hearing.
Since
so
we've,
that's
since
good.
we've had the public hearing, we are gonna go through secret.
Okay, question. Will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zoning regulations?
No,
Will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of use of land?
No,
no,
Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community?
no,
no,
Will the proposed action have an impact on the environmental characteristics that cause the establishment of a critical environmental area?
no,
Will the proposed action result in an adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affect the existing
no,
no,
infrastructure? Sorry, okay. Will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy and it fails to incorporate reasonably available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities?
no,
No.
Will the proposed action impact existing public or private water supplies or wastewater treatment utilities?
no,
Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources?
no,
no,
Will the proposed action result in an adverse change to natural resources such as wetlands, water bodies, groundwater, air quality, flora, and fauna?
no,
no,
Will the proposed action result in an increase in the potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems?
no,
Will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health?
no,
no,
All impacts being considered negative, we can entertain a negative secret declaration.
entertain a motion relative to negative secret. Made by Richard, second by Ann, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Negative declaration relative to seeker. For the record, we have received back from the county planning board their recommendations on this. And they have indicated that there is no significant adverse intercommunity or county-wide implications that can be consequences of this. So clean bill of health.
It's up to you. If you want to get information
Just,
on the REA or if we're just.
I guess.
Good with the motion.
Yeah, I would make a motion to approve this contingent on confirming that the parking spaces on the,
Reciprocal.
yes, meets the code. If not, they have reciprocal easement allowing them to use other parking spaces.
Okay, do you understand that we're talking in terms of you have to demonstrate that Target itself has sufficient parking spaces by itself, or in the alternative, you must provide documentation of a legal right from core development to share the parking.
Correct. Yep. We understand.
Okay, then I would entertain a motion. Did you make it?
I did.
I
I think that
couldn't
was,
tell if
a-
you really did or not.
yes, I did.
I'll second.
Subject to that contingency.
Right.
Second by Ann. All in favor?
I,
Aye. Motion's approved, subject to those contingencies.
So
Sounds good.
provide that to the codes office before our next meeting. That'd be great. We can review that and.
So, yeah, we'll get that put together.
Thank you.
We have a number of you standing. We do have 6 chairs just sitting here waiting for people. If you care to sit. The next matter on the agenda is an application by Harrington Homes. This is scheduled tonight for a public hearing. It's for subdivision final approval for Hunter's Ridge / Paulie Drive. This includes 2 different parcels of land, tax map number 111-8-17.1 and 111-2-9.5. Just so the people who are here, if they have an interest in this proceeding, may know, this is a project that was previously approved by the Town of Manlius Planning Board in 1999. When this came before us for final approval again, the delay in time, 22 years delay, was sufficient that board members felt we need to have a public hearing and that we're looking for public input on this. And that is the reason this has been scheduled today for public hearing. Madam Secretary, did we properly publish notices of the public hearing?
Yes.
Does anybody care to have a full reading of the notice of public hearing?
I'll second Fred's motion.
Fred's motion to waive the formal reading, second by Richard, all in favor?
Aye.
Formal reading is hereby waived. Before we go any further, I wanted to mention that we have already received some correspondence. And just so that the people present might know what we have before us, we have received written correspondence from Joanna Banta of 4419 Twin Pines Drive, Larissa Brenner from 7979 Everglades, Stephen Byer from 7757 Rolling Ridge Drive, Chad and Michelle Burgess, 4535 Hunters Ridge Drive, Ryan and Ashley Gunderson, 7790 Rolling Ridge Drive, Min Hu and Zhao Chen of 7815 Rolling Ridge Drive, Sign Hu and Diego Huan from 4568 Conewood Trail, Tom Leashik from 7761 Rolling Ridge Drive. Special thanks to him for the 19 detailed photographs he provided. Vital Kirschman and Bala Kirschman Murdy of 4539 Paulie Drive, Seth and Meredith Cronenberg of 7771 Rolling Ridge Drive, Renee McCaffrey of 7770 Rolling Ridge Drive, Lori and Mark Panto of 4565 Paulie Drive, Julie Polka of 7774 Rolling Ridge Drive, Joseph and Stephanie Porcello of 7814 Rolling Ridge Drive, Joseph Resti and Hillary Damon of 7787 Rolling Ridge Drive, Daniel and Margaret Silke of 7753 Rolling Ridge Drive, Jeffrey Stein of 4505 Spruce Ridge Drive, Jim and Karen Torella of 4534 Paulie Drive, Emily Valentino of 4527 Paulie Drive, Vinod Varkey and Esther Rushkam of 7794 Rolling Ridge Drive, and Patrick and Christine Varley of 7765 Rolling Ridge Drive. And special thanks to them for providing an engineering report from 2004 relative to that project. All of this correspondence has been distributed to all 7 members of this committee. We have all read it. We have all digested it. So keep that in mind when if and when we open this public hearing. We're really hoping not to have repetition of what we've received already and we have absorbed. And I think we all have been forming some opinions concerning this. But at this point, I would entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
Could we ask some questions first? Just,
Of the developer?
yes,
Absolutely.
who is here?
I'm here, Sharon Karen with
Okay.
Robert Karen Homes.
Okay,
Bob Karen of Robert Karen Homes and Matt Naparella.
Mr. Rossetti would like to ask a few questions. If you'd like to take the podium, you may.
I had,
Who would you like to ask?
well, anybody that has an answer.
All right.
Between the three of us will have an answer.
I have a plan,
Sure.
and I don't know if it's something that you gave to the board or that was in the files, but it shows that basically there are three phases. Section 2 that was completed in 2014, Section 1 that was completed in 08, and the remaining section that we're talking about today.
Okay, that
This
looks
lot,
right.
this lot was part of Section 2, if I'm looking at this properly, but was not constructed, or was this lot right here, if I'm looking at it right, is this lot right here.
Are you talking on the survey map or
I find it hard to believe, but it's possible.
this map?
That map,
Yeah, the one lot,
Yes.
we just,
lot
lot
5,
number 5, we
Five.
determined last was incorrect. The other developer said.
say it again.
Mr. Cordell.
The other developer said that lot 5, it was just the yellow highlight line is wrong.
Okay, so 5 was not part of Section 2.
Right.
Okay,
So what, yes, so this line should be here, not there. right?
Okay.
This is on this
Okay.
side.
so the original plan then, given that, was 10 lots, and we're dealing with 10 lots.
That's
Correct.
correct. It's
Okay.
exactly the same. That's just, that.
The
that was
yellow highlight
right.
lines in the wrong place.
and
Okay.
make it-
I just want to make sure we're not dealing with an old plan of 9 and now we're dealing with 10. Okay, that was one question. The other one I have, whenever we approve a subdivision, I know this has already been approved, but typically we do building envelopes to make sure that it's possible to build a house on whatever it is.
Yeah, so we made that
Yes.
adjustment.
Yes.
We got rid of these we didn't bring it tonight because we didn't want to confuse things.
Okay,
We're getting rid of the boxes.
Yep.
And we're putting the 20-foot side yard setbacks.
okay,
With the front and rear yard setbacks
okay.
on the other drawing.
Is this lot buildable
Yes,
Yes.
it is. Yes, it is.
with the setbacks and the easement?
Well,
Yes.
we have to talk about the easement. This easement here is the aqua assigned easement that it's set up with right now.
Yep,
You guys talking about the possibility of having to increase that easement. With Doug, they had a 25-foot. Doug, they had like a 25-foot,
buffer. Buffer, yeah.
something to talk about the town has adopted. I talked to Aqua, and Aqua is comfortable with this 20-foot easement and working with these conditions in this site.
So that does, there's an existing water line and
In the
easement there now.
ground. Yes,
Yes.
it is.
Okay,
Yep, this is all,
In
this
the
is all 12,
building,
if you believe it's a 12-inch water main.
in the building envelope,
Wow.
when they do the envelopes, we'll take that into account to show you where the house can go on that lot in relation to where the water line is.
So, you know, like, for instance, Naparella's office is already addressed and they highlighted, which this lot that we talked about, it couldn't exceed 25%.
yep, on the slope.
Slope, and this is way less than 25% pitch count here.
Okay,
But we
But we
didn't,
addressed-
we weren't gonna get involved with all that tonight because we felt that public hearing people would want to talk about things that they're concerned about. That's all. So,
okay,
No.
that's fine.
but everything in this development was approved. Everything, with the exception of that line that was an error. This is the third section. And there was no changes. It's all been kept the same.
Lot lines are the same?
Yes,
Okay.
everything's the
All right.
same. Yeah. They
Okay.
did put some details on here that you guys did want to see.
Which they're taking off.
Which they're taking off. And when people come in
Make it
here
less
tonight, want to talk
confusing.
about the drainage issues and the water issues
Right.
that are over here.
Right.
If they want an explanation of why it's going to get better, these housing boxes will kind of help with that also
How?
with grade.
With the,
The grade.
Because when you set a house, when you set these houses all in here, okay, so people back in here that are lower, I live on this side and lots of water comes my way, okay? Lots of water, because, water flows from high to low. And over here, there's a spot here, over here, where they've had issues with drainage. And I've been in there trying to help people out with drainage because they have problems with the water running from high to low. And they save too many trees. And when they save trees and people don't want to take trees down, and the spots where the trees are can't be filled, they start to puddle water because it doesn't run through. Because
Did
don't
they put
change.
any pipes in?
There's pipes in all over the place, but yes. I mean, the old section. So anyway, not to make it complicated, I mean, people want to ask questions if they want answers, we can kind of address that, explain that, but anyway, when you put houses in here, these houses in, at least when you put a road in, it then manages the water. When you put houses in, they pull the houses up considerably higher than the road, and the water that is running this way will then run to the road because the houses are held up and you're putting a house in higher and the road is lower and you push the water that way. But
There are no common areas. There is no retention or detention in this plan.
no,
Correct.
no, it was all established. The detention pond, from what I've been told, is that's way over here, is all in and ready to be hooked up to this section. So runoff water that comes out of here into the streets, into these storm sewer manholes, then that's running every which way now is going to be managed and ran through the intersection over this way. Then there's an easement that goes out to a big pond that's over here, an oversized
So it's an
detention pond.
It's an engineer issue. at this
So
time.
essentially, Rich, it's unmitigated today.
Yep.
And with the collection system, it'll then be diverted to the appropriate mitigation basin per the master plan that was designed several years.
30
ago.
years ago.
But now, right now, the water is unmitigated and it just keeps coming down the hill. So
Okay.
that's the whole thing, by putting the infrastructure in there, it's almost diverting that water that's impacting those areas to the west now.
Who owns that detention basin wherever this water is flowing?
Is it the town or is it it can't be the HOA
Was it the homeowner?
I don't think it's the homeowners association.
Is it on a lot?
That thing's constantly full already. by the way.
What is it?
That thing's constantly already full.
Okay, excuse me. We can't be going and getting questions answered out of the audience.
Oh, sorry.
If you don't know the answer, you just tell us you don't know the answer. But I am of the opinion, for whatever it's worth, that the passage of time, the 22 years is sufficient, that things have changed just from that fact alone. And has anyone talked to you about a new SWIP?
We're working on new SWIP.
Because
Because there wasn't a SWIP back then. There was no map.
I gotta look at the dates and stuff. I mean, there was a program, but it wasn't called stormwater pollution prevention plan back then. There was mitigation requirements as such.
Okay, because I do not believe this board is going to approve anything without a new SWIP, stormwater prevention plan.
That's what
Right.
we're doing.
Yeah,
We're
we're
working
working
on
on that.
Okay. Richard, do you have more questions or? can we-
Those were basically my questions. Thank you.
And I have the question, which lots did you guys develop already? You personally?
Us personally, Karen Homes has not developed any lots in this development.
In this area, like even.
Everything that you see
further out?
there, no. That's, so
Further out,
Two-thirds.
he's done,
2/3 of the
Brennan
subdivision was
Field,
developed by
Hartsfield.
DeForest. 2/3 of the subdivision done by DeForest. And the last section, which is the last third-ish,
Mhm.
is a combination of us and DeForest.
Okay, so he's developed these two sections,
That's correct.
the first,
He's,
okay,
he's developed it. He's built a lot of the houses. He's sold some of the lots to other builders that built houses.
okay.
And did you build in there, did you say? Did you build?
No,
in-
he did not build
Never.
in Spruce Ridge.
I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing.
Motion by Rich, second by Fred, all in favor. Public hearing is hereby open. If someone would like to speak, identify who you are, where you live, and hopefully we don't have repetition of information provided. Sir, the first hand up.
Hi, I'm Larry Chismark. I'm a representative of the Manlius Rod and Gun Club, which was established in 1929. And I just want to put it on public record that we're an active gun club in the vicinity of the proposed new development.
We're aware of that.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Name's Joe Corsello, live at 7814 Rolling Ridge Drive in Spruce Ridge. As you can see, we have quite a contingent from our neighborhood here today, and I hope the letters and the presence of everyone here today demonstrates the seriousness with which a very large number of my neighbors are taking these issues. And there are a number of reasons for that. One is there is along all the top end of Rolling Ridge Drive, directly adjacent to this development, massive drainage issues, including standing floods for days and days and days that are present always. And this is something the developers are aware of. One of the developers lives across the street from it. Another developer is helping one of the homeowners right now in the last month, trying to alleviate the drainage in the flood. Guess what? The flood's still there. So I'm hearing a lot of, we're gonna figure it out. We've got a lot of engineering we need to do. We'll get that stormwater plan in place. Where is it? You've got documents in your file from 2004. What do they say? The developer won't take our calls, won't respond to us. We have drainage issues. What can we do? We go to the town. We have an engineering study. The engineering study talks about subsurface water. All the engineering that was done by the builder, ineffective against the subsurface water. They didn't do the study back then to find out where the drainage was coming from. And now what we're hearing is, trust us. And I'll tell you, over the course of about 20 years, the Spruce Ridge neighbors have lost all their trust. And I would submit the planning board should not also trust. And we're talking about 22 years. A lot has changed and we've learned a lot. And the drainage just keeps coming. And I'll tell you, it flows throughout the whole neighborhood. And it's easy to say, well, we've got isolated houses at Rolling Ridge. The water flows across the street. And I would submit, we need an engineering study to determine how far it flows from the current development and what steps need to be taken in engineering prudence to be able to address these drainage issues. How can you build new houses when the developers who have been involved since the beginning never did it right in the first place? So generally as a community, it's a question, why rush? Let's get it right. Let's fix the problems that were never fixed before and not make them worse. And that's also the additional issue, which is to our neighborhood of equal significance, the traffic issue, which is just as difficult to address because of the explosion of the population in Pompey in particular, but Manlius generally. We've seen our tranquil neighborhood turn into a through street. And people cut through, they blow through stop signs every day. They drive around stopped buses. If you didn't have it in your packet, you will soon, from the elementary school bus driver who drops our kids off, who is giving testimony as to this being a regular occurrence, and it's the through traffic. And here we're talking about a developer not just saying we want to add 10 houses, but we want to interconnect two neighborhoods. And in fact, two neighborhoods, one of which is in the village of Manlius and the other in the town of Manlius. which may require a coordinated review of all of the environmental and drainage issues that already are known to exist with respect to this development parcel. And our neighborhood would request that the town of Manlius strongly consider a traffic study that would assess the impact of creating this interconnection and putting more cars and more through traffic and who's transiting. The neighborhood below also that has drainage issues and put in letters. So this isn't just a Spruce Ridge issue. We don't know where those cars are going to go. They have a very steep hill to go down. I submit it's very likely that we're going to get more traffic through the already frankly dangerous streets for our little children.
Mr. Porcillo, we have listened to you. We take all of these concerns very seriously. The safety of the children is an utmost issue. Relative to the drainage, we're not proceeding forward until we have a new SWIP. Regulations regarding stormwater have changed significantly over the last 22 years. They're more stringent now, and we want to see that. We want to make certain that if we approve a development, that it's not going to add to any other, it's not going to increase the problems that already exist in your neighborhoods. That's a beautiful area with beautiful homes, and we take this very seriously. We are not hurrying anything. So we will take the steps that we believe that we need to do to make sure that this development, if it goes forward, does not have any adverse impact on you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Lori Pianto, and I live on Paulie Drive on 4565 Paulie Drive. And I did send in a letter, and I'm on the village side of this development. So I have an easement, Mark and I have an easement on our property. And I heard you say drainage issues, that's one of my main concerns, but also just, now that means we built our house 20 years ago, and we never expected it to last this long, this easement. So we never quite finished that side of our landscaping, and therefore we've had erosion because of this easement and this turnaround on our property. And now I have to get legal representation, I have to get environmental representation to figure out what's my path forward. Because I don't feel that I've seen a path forward with what the developer has presented. He's presented a plan that says something like, we'll remove existing pavement, we'll remove and replace the existing pavement. Well, I don't understand what that means. I don't understand at whose expense, how to coordinate it with the village, how to connect that drainage to the village drainage. It's a lot. And so I am also requesting a delay to figure out all of this. I'd like more of a formal agreement. And if it means I have to do it on at our own expense, legal representation, environmental representation, then that's what we're gonna do.
Your lot, the lot that's right next to the development that has the hammerhead.
Yes.
Okay. You're entitled to know how that's going to be resolved.
Do you have a survey that you can send to us that has the easement information on it?
With what information on it?
The easement, the turnaround. and
You
so
know,
forth.
I'm, yes, but I don't have the formal easement. I'm trying to work through getting that information. 2 weeks was not a lot of time to prepare for
That's your
it,
house.
but yeah.
This is the easement she's talking about.
Yeah.
Is this also an
If
easement?
you have the abstract. of
I do
title-
not have the abstract of title. So I'm trying to reach out to all the parties involved in the
Yep.
original transaction to get the abstract of title.
Because it'll be
Title
in there.
companies are
Yeah.
out of the one that did the abstract of title is out of business. So, and it was 20 years ago, records were not as electronically available. So it's been a trouble. I've, spent a lot of time on it and haven't been able to to get the information that I wanted to present.
So just out of curiosity, I don't know if there's an answer to it. If this gets built and makes the connection, there's no need for a turnaround, correct?
Correct. So what does that mean to me? Does it mean I have the expense of removing it? Do I have to go to the village and ask for,
Well, you gotta find out who the beneficiary of the easement is. I don't know who that is.
Right.
And get them
Right,
to
so
release
there's a
it.
lot of questions. And my concern is how is it gonna connect? Because, right now we have, concrete drainage throughout Paulie Drive and Everglades.
Mhm.
It's, the only way I can explain it is like a drainage.
Right. Culvert.
Culvert, and they don't do that anymore. So one side of our house will have that drainage culvert existing, and the other side will probably just have a bump up of the road. So it'll look odd, it'll,
Yeah.
we have to figure it all out.
Okay, valid concern.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Brian Menard, 4531 Paulie Drive. I was not going to speak it, but I heard mention of retention basin, which I believe might actually be in my backyard, as part of my property. And so as part of the actual survey measure, I do want to make sure that that is covered off. Exactly. And right, and the neighbors that are below, the Silkies and right next to them, Abala, I know they already have actual flooding problems right back behind that. And that drainage was set up for this phase 3. So now when that does actually feed in there, I think it's actually gonna be an actual bigger problem for not as much as for myself, but actually below that actual basin. So I just want to make sure on the record that when that's reviewed, that's taken a look at.
What was your address again?
4531 Paulie Drive.
What, I didn't quite hear what you said about this was for phase 3.
So the retention basin, it is an oversized retention basin, right? It's in the backyard. And when there's big floods that come through, water will come through into that, right? And then it actually drains out through. But the issue also comes is that was built up over whatever 25 or so years ago. And there is, when it does rain, there's actually flooding through our neighbors behind the basin where it's set up right now. And then what you're gonna have now is you're gonna have a lot more water flowing through that. Because that's where we're talking about where it's all diverted, it's near diverted from the basin. That's what it's set up for. So that definitely needs to be looked at as part of it.
And do you have an easement? Is there any documentation about maintaining that, or who's supposed to? I mean, you got this on your property.
Is it a temporary basin?
No, I mean,
I have a survey for my home and as well as my neighbors. I'm happy to.
Does it show an
it's like
easement?
3 or 4 properties that are all shared.
Does it show an easement on it?
I don't look at these things on a regular basis.
Okay.
That's why I'm gonna pass that to you.
That's fine.
One moment.
Because typically there should be, of course, 25 years ago, things have changed a lot.
Send it to my email right now, if you would, sir. Okay,
Sure.
Yep.
Okay, would you mind giving me the?
jsutphin@bsfattorneys.com.
One more time.
E is in boy, S is in Sam, F is in Frank, attorneys.com.
Sir, are you
Thank
all
you.
set now?
Yes.
Okay, you do have a hand raised on the Zoom. Can we ask them to ask their question? Or
Hi there. Hi
Hi there.
there. It's Jackie Ang listening in on your board meeting. And I live at 7766 Rolling Ridge Drive. I live across from the Silkies and directly across the street. And I can say that water that the last speaker spoke about is serious because it comes all the way up into my yard too. On October 16th this year, the flooding was so bad, it was almost a foot of water in the street. It went like 15 feet up into my yard. It actually stalled out a car who I believe the owner reported to, a neighbor down the street. So I just wanted you to know there's another house where that water comes down, like the last speaker said, and back past the Silkies house and across the road and up into my yard.
Okay. I believe the other neighbor, Mr. Leshak, who was also on Rolling Hills, sent us all the photographs showing knee-deep water at one point.
Yeah,
So we-
actually, now that I think about it, his car stalled out in the intersection of Austrian Pine and Twin Pines Drive. So when you do the study, please cover that area.
He showed the car.
That's not a puppy, I think.
He showed the engine of the car all the
I
way.
know,
Well,
but that's kind of puppy.
This, yes, you are correct. That is actually Town of Pompey, so maybe we want to get them involved too.
The town of Pompey is about another 75 foot south before it cuts in.
I'm actually on the Town of Pompey town line.
That basically goes right up on the town line there. My yard is the.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Ms. Ang.
Thank you.
Ma'am?
My name is Stacey Kelso O'Connor. I live at 4457 Red Spruce Lane. And I'm also a realtor, so I have a little different perspective on some of what everybody's talking to. There are several different things, and I'm not going to repeat what we've said, but as you have been saying, it's been over 20 years since the last time this was approved, and a lot has changed. One of the things that has changed is the environmental issues. So, and where I say I'm providing you a map, I meant to have them all copied for you. If I don't have them here, you will have them, so I apologize for that. But I'm providing a copy of the map from the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, showing clearly that the proposed homes are in an area designated as being in the vicinity of bats listed as endangered. There is a very specific area of migration from the caves in Jamesville where there are no environmental changes made that will impact this pattern of feeding migration. I'm not going to delve into the specifics of this, as the planning board is well aware of the significance. After sitting through what turned into painful ad nauseum years of the Hogue Lane development meetings, I know you are all well versed in this, and I will not waste your time or mine on the details. As this development has not received final approval, the fact that there has already been clearing of land in progress is distressing to say the least. So in addition, number 15 on the application that was submitted saying, does the site of proposed action contain any species of animal associated habitats listed by the state or federal government as threatened or endangered? The answer is yes. Okay, and that is very clear on the maps, which again, I will be providing for all of you, but which I do have here. The brown circle being the area of migration and an area that is not to be disturbed environmentally. And then more specifically, the red dot, this being Paulie Drive on the Spruce Ridge side, the rest here, which is all clearly in the orange. So we do have that, and again, you're well versed in brown nose with that. The second one, water runoff, again, I'm not going to repeat what everybody is saying, but what is distressing as I was standing here, I'm just saying, number 17 on the application would also be incorrect because it does say, will the stormwater discharge be directed into established conveyance systems, blah, blah, no. And they put, it goes to existing detention ponds. Number one, there are no existing retention ponds on that 10 home designated map, which we've now heard, we know is across the street and down behind these existing neighbors. But now I'm hearing we are not even sure who owns the pond. If there's an easement, where it belongs, and again, it's already overflowing, and it was designed for a neighborhood that doesn't exist, and it's already overflowing. And onto my land, again, I actually live in Pompey, because I am right at the border between Pompey and Manlius. You know, I was going to again refer back to specifically other neighborhoods that we have, things have changed. Lee Terrace, which continues to be a problem for Manlius in general, Dalton Farms, which continues to be a problem with water runoff, and Red Spruce Lane in the Spruce Ridge subdivision. When they extended Rolling Ridge, several houses on Red Spruce Lane, again, all of this being adjacent, and I have provided maps for that, flooded. We have sunk pipe after pipe after pipe, and I have a map of the houses that have been affected by the flooding. And years later, flooding problems again. There are on sunny days times where you can walk through two of the houses on Red Spruce Lane and see water actively running from this piping into the street on a dry, clear sunny day in the middle of summer. Every time we have changed where there are existing homes in our area, there are problems. again, I have a whole tirade on that, but I'm not gonna kick a dead horse here. We're all talking about that, but I do have maps of where this is going. And again, back to what Jackie Eng is referring to, we had a flood last Halloween, on Halloween, where the kids had to stop trick or treating as the streets were completely flooded knee deep in water across from my house, which is where Austrian Pine and Twin Pines intersect. And the houses back there, again, have just had to put new piping in. I think they did it 10 years ago, again this year, because it is literally a spring that runs through some of the back of these homes that they are constantly dealing with and remediating. Now, where this is a slightly different take from the other neighbors, I want to talk about the real estate values and what is going to happen here. So what makes Spruce Ridge different from other similar subdivisions, for example, Pompey Pines and the Preserve, is the volume and the maturity of our trees. Spruce Ridge used to be a tree farm, hence the names of the subdivision, and I do not see cited how many trees are to be left standing, and actually I just heard now from Mr. Karen in the beginning that trees are bad and we need to remove them, which is disturbing. What is the plan for the landscaping of these properties? How much of the natural privacy that guides the prices of the homes in Spruce Ridge are guaranteed to stay? What will the square footage of the homes and what price point will they be sold? This is huge, and I will get back to that. The two sides of Paulie Drive are not comparable at all. The square footage, the age, and the style of the homes are completely different. Paulie Drive is already broken into 3 named and distinctively different subdivisions. Meadow Stream Annex, which is immediately adjacent to where this would come through, Timber Ridge, and Hunter's Ridge. Which side are they going to look like? Or are they just planting a completely different style of home in the middle of 2 established neighborhoods? By connecting the 2 ends of Paulie Drive, you are not only affecting traffic flow, another huge concern, and again, something else on the application under number 8, will the proposed action result in a substantial increase in traffic above present levels? They said no. Well, yes. If you're connecting a street between 2 neighborhoods that's a dead end right now, there is going to be a significant change in the traffic. So again, the third one on the application that is incorrectly answered. You're connecting to the traffic concern, but you're also affecting the property values dramatically, as now homes that are on Paulie Drive as one street. So if we're making this one continuous street, it's a continuous street, Paulie Drive, just like you live on Lee Lane or Bruce Lane or whatever, it's now going to be one street. It's going to affect the property values dramatically because they will now be used in a market analysis, appraisals, and tax assessments as one street. And they're 2 completely different streets. If this happens, the home on the Spruce Ridge end will devalue with the loss of privacy and now having through traffic. The homes on Meadow Stream and Timber Ridge side will also see a spike in traffic, but also an assessment and taxes as their averages on that street are going to rise significantly. Now they're going to be used as comps for homes that are not comparable, but it's one street. And when appraisers from different areas come in, which happens all the time, they send them in from Rochester, they send them in. Banks are notorious for that. They send in appraisers who don't even live here. And then so they pick up a map and they go, oh, Paulie Drive, well, this house sold here, and it's not comparable and it's not fair because they'll use square footage to some degree. The age of the home, they don't. Also, I'm providing copies of the currently available vacant building lots for sale on the Meadow Stream Timber Ridge side of Paulie Drive. As you can see, in an unprecedented market of multiple offers, low inventory, record high sale prices, and where the average days on market for the last 2 years has been 8 in Syracuse, New York. Right now it's 5. The average days on market in our area right now is 5. Mahoney Builders has not been able to sell the current inventory it's had. All have been for sale between $200,000 and $365,000, which is the sweet selling spot in the hot market. And I will show you this. It says I provided copies. I have them here. Why would we want new homes built on a street where there are currently 10 available building lots, which I've highlighted in yellow, which no one has purchased in over 3 years? Currently available, 4637 lot 15 Paulie Drive, 208 days on the market at $365,000. 4641 lot 5 Paulie Drive, on the market 181 days. 4636 Paulie Drive, 549 days. It's been on the market for $299,000. Actually, that is expired. 4632 Paulie Drive, 181 days at $250,000. 4642 Paulie Drive, 309 days, $389,000. 4644 Paulie Drive, 548 days, $45,000. That is an actual vacant lot. And then finally, one did sell, 4641 Paulie Drive, after 299 days, did sell for $299,000. So here is the other side. This being the vacant area we're going to extend into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They've all been for sale for over 3 years. Oh, in the sweet spot. I mean, this is our market, $200,000, $300,000. None of them have sold. So why are we going to put in 10 more houses on the same street? This is all Paulie Drive. Anyway, in conclusion, I asked that the planning board be very careful in its decisions regarding the planned connection of Paulie Drive and also the building of an additional 10 homes. The documentation and facts showed that this would have a very negative effect on many levels, the most important being the environmental impact of an endangered species, the flooding concerns, which are huge in our neighborhood, of the existing homes, and of the property values and the tax base for the town of Manlius.
Thank you, Ms. O'Connor. Yes, sir.
Promise to be brief. My name is Dan Silky. I live at 7753 Rolling Ridge Drive with my wife. We've lived in the neighborhood about 5 years now. We love it and couldn't ask for better neighbors. The reason why I'm in front of you this evening is because I have 3 young children, soon to be 7, 4, and 1, and they as well love the neighborhood. They have great friends that are all along Paulie, and they're constantly walking up Hunter's Ridge. And if I had one disappointment about the neighborhood, it is the traffic. I know it's been mentioned this evening. I've seen it get progressively worse. With the stop sign right in front of my house being run quite frequently. I say to people all the time, I understand, I've been known to roll a stop sign or two, but people are going 40, slowing down to 30. That's the speed limit. So we have a real concern about the additional traffic. The thing in the application that caught my attention, and again, the main reason why I'm in front of you this evening is I couldn't help but shake my head about the fact that it wouldn't impact the traffic. My house is one of, I think, 4 that would be unique in the sense that no matter who is in the new development is entering our neighborhood, they're going to go by my house. There's no other way. There's about 4 of us that lead into this new area. So it's indisputable. We will see an increase in traffic. That in and of itself may not be a bad thing, but with the traffic patterns and the disregard for the stop sign, that elevates my concern. So what I would ask this evening is for the committee to consider a transportation study that's been brought up. And I'd be very curious to see what impact this might have. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thanks. One more.
Hi, I'm at 4561 Homewood Trail.
Can you
I'm
name?
directly down where the property is being, proposed to be built up.
Your name?
Melissa Rogers.
Thank you.
And our property has had so many flooding issues that our basement has flooded. And my husband had to personally put in French drains on the side of the property. And even after putting in French drains 2 years ago, we still have settling of water down there. And that's one of our main concerns, and obviously the children thing, but I don't know how the stormwater planning or the evaluation works, but I hope it considers the entirety of the drainage down through the neighborhood. I'm hoping that that's the case when they're doing their reassessment. I don't know how that works. I'm just asking.
We're very thorough on it.
Okay, great, thank you.
Ma'am?
Short, so short.
I
promise that I have a little picture, so I need to get closer. My name is Michelle Burkins, and I live at 4535 Hunter's Ridge. I'm in front of Maggie and the Silkies and next to the Menards, and so right there, Paulie and Hunter's Ridge. I'm diagonal from the wooded lawn. So my husband is an avid nature lover. He's not an expert by any means, but he will occasionally pull out his binoculars and be looking around. And over our years, we've lived there since 2014, he has seen, he believes, the short-eared owl, which is an endangered owl in the New York area. So in addition to the bats, we have an owl. We have owls. We have owls all the time. We have owls that land on our roof. They use those trees in the woods. My concern is there clearing in those woods, which I feel there is from what I can see from the street.
Okay, no more talking from the audience.
Is it cleared now? Like I can see from my street that it looks like it's being cleared.
There are trees that are, I went through the whole area
Good.
on foot.
Good.
Most of them are old cuts. There's no new cuts of the wood. There are a lot of trees down, but they all appear to me to be years old, for whatever that's worth.
Our hearing feels like it's more recent
Okay,
in the neighborhood. So those are my concerns on top of my letter.
thank you, Ms. Burgess, thank you. Are we all set? I would entertain a motion.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second by Ann, all in favor? Aye. Is there anyone else on Zoom with their hands up? All in favor? Did I do that yet?
You did.
Okay. The public hearing is hereby closed. We've heard a number of people talk tonight. We've got a list of over 20 people who have written specifically regarding the drainage, which we've ordered the updated report, and also traffic. I would entertain a motion relative to an updated traffic control study.
I make that motion.
No second.
Motion made by Ann, second by Valerie. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. That's for traffic study. We're going to be looking to have an updated traffic study simply because the passage of time it impacts, and we need to know what's going on now as opposed to what was going on in 1999. Okay. This matter will now stand adjourned until we get reports in. We want to get the SWIP in, we want a traffic control study in, and we're going to need time to sit down and talk about this. Okay. You want to go to January 10 on this? Yeah, we're gonna leave it open. We're gonna leave the date open. Tentatively, we might schedule it for the 10th, depending on when we get the information we need. Okay. Folks, I want to thank you very much for coming in here. It's good that you have concern for your neighborhoods and that you have all expressed in writing very healthy number of letters. And we read them all. And we understand what you're saying, and we're going to deal with it the best way we can. Thank you very much for coming. Fred?
We got one more.
We got two more things.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got special.
I'm just eager.
I was ready to second it.
Next item. on-
Thank you.
Good night, folks.
Merry Christmas, happy holidays.
Merry Christmas.
I'm just ready to go home.
I know nothing about these cell towers, but there's no problem with them. Is there?
That's right. We got a clean bill of health.
Have we been given 7-year special permit extension? I move that we give these 2 towers.
So why don't we do one at a time?
You know, they had,
We'll just wait for people to clear.
Okay.
they used to have little trees in front there. They put cheap little trees in and they lasted about 6 months. Then they died. We had requested trees along that building. And they're all dead.
No, they're all leaf trees. So you talking about the dentist
You're
office?
talking about the private high school?
No, this is one on North Burdick.
Oh.
North Burdick. That's along the mall, right?
Yeah.
Along the mall. It's across from the mall.
Oh, over on the, yes, I know the site you're talking
Yeah.
about.
It's the only thing. They just put
It could
trees.
be our new town hall.
Okay, folks, we're going to proceed forward with the remainder of the calendar. So I'm trusting everyone will exit or be quiet. The next item on the calendar is an application by 5428 North Burdick Street for a special use permit renewal on a cell tower. We have been informed that there are no complaints filed relative to that. We have converted to a 7-year on cell towers, special use permit.
I'll make a motion to extend it if that's appropriate at this time.
We extended, or is it for new? Because isn't this one that they sat on for 20 years?
Oh, no. So these were originally approved, like 33 and 27 years ago. So this is their first renewal in that many years.
Oh, this was a
That's how that goes.
25-year.
Correct.
Wow.
That's how, yes.
But I remember they were supposed to put trees across from by that gray building. They lasted about 2 weeks
Oh.
because they must have gone to a.
Yeah.
They should replace those.
So we're dealing with North Burdick Street cell tower. No complaints in apparently 25 years.
We're going to approve it for 7.
Motion by Fred to approve for 7.
I agree.
Second by Ann. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
And these are retroactive because these were due in October and September.
Okay.
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 The next is an application by 6973 Calimer Road for a special use permit for cell tower. Again, the same scenario. There have been no complaints. There's no wrongdoing by the cell people.
I'll make a motion to extend for 7 years.
Motion by
Second.
Richard, second by Fred. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Special permit is granted. Wow. I want to give special thanks tonight to our worthy secretary, who not only received all of those letters, but corresponded back with each and every one of them, telling them that we had received the correspondence and thanking them for having had the.
That's great.
And forwarding
That's what
them
she said.
to us at all times of the
That's
day.
great. That's great.
I had Friday off and that's all I
I think I got it on Sunday.
You did.
Yeah.
We had you on Sunday.
Yeah.
So she went above and beyond the call of
She
duty,
always does.
Yeah.
including Mr. Byer sent one in after hours tonight, after she was supposed to have gone home. And she forwarded on to all 7 of us, and she also sent a thank you to him for having sent it after hours. So truly above and beyond on
Yeah,
that.
Thank
That
you.
is good.
Thank you.
That's great.
Thank you.
That's great. I'll second Fred's motion.
And this will be the last time.
No, you
But
got
I
one
thought
more
you were
meeting,
coming
right?
back on
Well-
the 27th.
I'm going to be on the computer if we aren't allowed to
You could
do
still-
that. 'cause
you
I'm
could still end the
definitely not
meeting
gonna be
from
here.
there.
I'll second it.